Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to Movie Pop, and today we're going to be talking about Hustlers. Ooh! Lawrence, let's just dive right into expectations for this film. I'm going to be honest, I think you know as well, we originally were going to review The Goldfinch. We saw it had a 25% score on Rotten Tomatoes, and shockingly, Hustlers had 91%. Yeah. We basically decided, forget that. Let's do Hustlers. That being said, I saw the trailer for this film. I'm like, this ain't it, Chief. Just the concept for it really bothered me. And in fact, actually, I have a trailer I'd like to show our fantastic audience about a movie that basically kind of outlines how I felt. So let's take a look at that trailer right now. Despite being born in the best country on earth, I wasn't left with much of a choice. My plan was to steal all these bitches' money.
I need some money, yeah.
The feel-good comedy of the summer. Watch these men take back what is not theirs.
We are going to drug all these bitches and we're going to take those cunts' money.
Man, fuck these bitches. All they do is watch Real Housewives anyways, you know what I'm saying, nigga? We gonna take back what's ours.
This summer, two wrongs do make a right. Male hustlers laughing all the way to the bank.
Is the sequel? Oh my god.
So yeah.
That's the sequel to the movie. Hustlers 2, Male Hustler.
You know, the
good.
PC liberal crowd would lose their shit if they saw that trailer or that movie. So,
God. Yeah.
Now we kind of touch more back on that subject. That was my expectations. Lawrence, how about you, man?
Oh, well, I definitely didn't have that intense of a reaction, but I think that was very fitting. I expected just like a stripper movie, but I feel like it was more about their con and stuff. Like, it was very different when I watched it. So yeah, expectations I think were a little bit shifted. So let's I guess dive right into some of the pros that we had.
Yes, and before that, I'm surprisingly remembering to talk about the Rotten Tomatoes score. It is holding a
very important
87% now by critics.
It
was formerly 91. And 75% for the audience. So, bravo, audience! You have a brain. Finally.
Yeah, I know. Right on.
Critic consensus though for the film. Let's just talk about that briefly. Led by a career best performance by Jennifer Lopez.
Okay.
Hustlers is uniquely empowering heist drama with depth and intelligence to match its striking visual appeal. Yeah. So, as you were saying, on to the pros for the film. I'll just take it away from here. Yeah, she did do a good job. She did. But honestly, my first point on that subject is regarding Constance Wu. For me, Constance Wu absolutely stole the show here. Well above and beyond Jennifer Lopez. We had some very, very amazing close-up shots of Constance Wu during her interview with the reporter. Just some really just fantastic acting, crying on command, really just emotionally engaging.
I have to, real quick,
film?
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I have to say that Constance Wu, I do agree with you, she did really well, and I'll get back to this later because this is more of a con. But yeah, like I don't, when I mention it later, I don't want to take away that like her acting was on point. Everything you said was really good. But I will get, it's one of my cons and I'll get back to it later, but I just want to bring that up because I totally agree with you on that. And yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Curious. Okay, I'm curious to hear what that might be. This movie's very fun. I was definitely invested with the characters immediately. Within 15 minutes of this film's runtime, I was sold. I was hooked. The acting is very slickly produced. There's a lot of hot tits and ass, so I can't complain about that. Lawrence.
Yeah. So
how about you, my man?
So for me, I feel like all the characters were surprisingly distinct from each other. I feel like it wasn't like, I was expecting like, oh, everyone's the same, everyone has the same personality. Very different from each other. They all have different motivations, they all have different backgrounds, especially as the movie goes on, there's a lot more new characters introduced. Thought that was nice. It looks like they took a lot of time to develop these characters, so that was good. The tie into the real world events is really appreciated. It kind of grounds it in reality for you. And I think the runtime of the film was actually perfect.
Yes.
It's not overindulgent. You're not sitting there for
Thank
like 2.5,
God.
3 hours being like, oh my God, when is this going to end? Yeah, thank God. This is like perfectly timed. I think it's like an hour and 50 minutes. It's perfect. It's well done. So yeah, that's pretty much it for me. So let's jump into the more interesting, at least for me, some of the cons that we have about this. So DJ, please take it away.
Ooh, baby, yeah, absolutely more interesting for me. As you guys probably guessed from the trailer I showed you for Male Hustlers, throughout the whole entire runtime of this film, that was one element that just bothered me so much. The fact that they frame this whole narrative, because what they're doing is very corrupt, very morally wrong, and honestly is like horrifying and shocking. And so the fact that the filmmakers kind of portrayed this in a very light, fun, comedic way without really touching on the consequences or the gravity of the situation these females are putting themselves in or subjecting men to, it bothered me throughout the film because it's so lightly glossed over. That aside, the second act of the film, once the females started to get into the groove for their whole hustling, I felt like kind of dragged a bit here and there.
Definitely.
It could have been
that's a big
right?
portion of the movie. Yeah, I feel like it's just kind of like, all right.
It was like on wash, rinse, repeat, without any progression or narrative thrust.
For sure.
The consequences, as I've mentioned, for what these females were doing, and again, it's very horrifying and shocking, etc. They only dealt with the consequences of this film in the last 20 minutes and just kind of like swept it underneath the rug and like, here we go.
Yeah,
wash your hands.
That's actually one of my cons too, but it's a little different. But yeah, I totally agree with you. It's like, oh well, that's it, folks. Sorry, it's like, what the heck?
My last con's gonna be this is kind of a nitpick. There was one scene where one of the females, she basically has a wire on. And it has to do with the sound mixing. They basically had the sound being displayed on or broadcast on screen via the wire, and it was kind of jarring because it went on for like 3 minutes. I'm like, that's an odd choice. Little nitpick here. That's me, man. What about you and your cons? I'm really curious to hear what they are.
Yeah. So while I do agree, Constance Wu kind of does steal the show, and she's fantastic, and I love her. I think she's great. I felt like she was a little out of place in just playing her role. Like she was. Maybe it's because I'm used to seeing her in these like, I've seen her on Fresh Off the Boat where she's playing a mom, and then I've seen her in Crazy Rich Asians where she's just kind of like a regular girl. So it just felt like she was. I don't know, like seeing her in this position, I felt uncomfortable. Like I felt like she was out of place. Cause like next to J-Lo, you see J-Lo, she's got like this, she's always showing her body. She looks fantastic. She's clearly like owns that role. And it's like, I don't know what it is. Something was missing. I can't even pinpoint it to be honest, but I just felt like.
It's interesting you say that.
Like she was out of position.
I think that's definitely a bias on your part because I was only familiar with Constance Wu based off Crazy Rich Asians. And honestly, I didn't even recognize her. So since you have that frame of reference, I can understand your point of view, but for me, as someone who didn't recognize her or doesn't know her filmography, to me, she completely fit in perfectly well, did not stand out like a sore thumb at all, and in fact, say a sword.
Well, I think her acting and all that stuff is fantastic, so it kind of made me question myself. It's like, well, maybe I'm just crazy. But then I don't know, I felt uncomfortable, like, maybe I'm just not. I never expect her to be in a role like that. So it's like, I don't know.
Oh, come on, man. She's cute and Asian. Doesn't mean she can't be a bad girl.
Honestly, I think she's attractive, but I didn't find her that attractive in this role. I find her more attractive in the other roles she's played. Maybe it's like too much makeup. I don't know what it is, to be honest. I don't know. Anyways, that's just my gripe. I don't even know where it starts. I can't even pinpoint, which really frustrates me. But it's just one thing I had in the film. I watch it. Yeah. And also, just like you said, while we get to see the characters and like the end, I would have liked to see like what changed in their life. You get to see like them after the fact, but what happened to their life, what happened to their family, what happened with their jail time. You don't even get to see Constance Wu's daughter when she's like grown up, like how, like what happened. You don't get to see what happened in Jennifer Lopez's character, like what happened in her life. They kind of talk about what happened with their relationship, but they don't talk about what happened after the fact. Like they say, like, oh, they went to jail, or oh, they did this, but they don't show you like the effects in their life.
Yeah, with some text afterwards of the movie,
that, you don't
the
know
closing
what effect it has. Yeah, exactly. And that's pretty much it for me.
All right. Well, then I suppose we can get into summaries and wrap this bad bitch up. To summarize my thoughts for this film, it's a slickly produced, over-glorified fun ride through some morally corrupt and horrifying real-life violations of Wall Street careermen. I think that pretty much encapsulates the movie perfectly, with being fair and balanced about it. So scores for the film, I'm going to say this film deserves a 3.5 bags of popcorn out of 5. That's 70%.
Yeah, I'm going to give this one a 3 for me personally. I feel like I feel like it was pretty good, but just some things about it like felt off. Like I don't feel like I was super engaged throughout the entirety of the movie. There are some exciting scenes, but I feel like because of what I mentioned in my pros and cons, I feel like it kind of falters a little bit. So I don't know. I think it could have been a lot better.
Well, there you go, guys. You have it from us both. 3.5 bags of popcorn and 3 bags of popcorn for Lawrence. 60%. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Well, there you go, guys. You have it from us both. Make sure to follow us on social media because you want to stay up to date with the latest, sexiest movies coming out. You can find all those links right down below.
And if you're new to the channel, we really appreciate you guys following us, subscribing. That really means a lot. But as always, if you haven't seen us before, any of that stuff, like, comment, help us out. It means so much. And of course, thank you so much for watching.